The courtroom was filled with an air of unspoken tension. The heavy silence made it clear, something monumental was about to unfold. Everyone in the room, from the legal professionals to the journalists, could feel it. This was no ordinary trial. Today, one of the most respected and beloved figures in Hollywood, George Clooney, was about to take the stand as a witness. But this wasn't the kind of appearance most people were used to seeing from Clooney. He wasn't here to promote a movie, discuss his humanitarian efforts, or talk about his charity work. Clooney was here for a reason that was far more important than all of that. Clooney was here to testify against one of the most powerful figures in the entertainment industry, Sean "Diddy" Combs. For years, Diddy had been a titan in the world of music, fashion, and business. He was known for his larger-than-life persona, his empire of music, fashion, and media, and his unmatched success. But behind that public image, Clooney knew the real story, the truth that no one outside of a select few had ever known. And today, Clooney was about to expose it all. The atmosphere in the courtroom was electric. All eyes were on Clooney, and the world waited with bated breath as he took his seat at the witness stand. There was something heavy about this moment. Clooney wasn't here to recount his days as a Hollywood star or to share his thoughts on social issues. He wasn't here to discuss what it felt like to be part of one of the biggest entertainment industries in the world. No, Clooney was here to reveal a much darker side of the entertainment world, one that was built on power, manipulation, and secrets. Clooney, a man who had spent decades in the industry, a man who had built his career on trust and integrity, was now prepared to reveal the side of Diddy that the world had never seen. As Clooney looked up at the jury and the judge, he began with a statement that would change everything. "I'm not here to destroy anyone's life," he said, his voice steady yet full of emotion. "I'm here because of the things I've seen, the things I couldn't keep silent about any longer." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Clooney had been silent for years, and now finally he was speaking out. He knew the stakes. This was no small matter. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was a fight for the truth. The world was about to learn the truth about Diddy and the empire he had built. But the question on everyone's mind was this: why hadn't Clooney spoken out sooner? Why had he stayed silent for so long? Clooney's answer was simple, yet chilling. He had been afraid. Afraid for his career, afraid for his family, afraid of the power Diddy and those around him wielded. Clooney had seen firsthand how lives were destroyed, careers ruined, and reputations shattered by the unseen hand of power. But Clooney could no longer remain silent. The truth had to come out, no matter the cost. Clooney began his testimony by recalling his first encounters with Diddy. It was in the early 2010s when Clooney, like many in Hollywood, received invitations to Diddy's famous parties. At first, it seemed like any other high society event: lavish venues, expensive champagne, influential guests. Diddy's parties were the stuff of legend, and Clooney, being one of the biggest names in Hollywood, naturally found himself invited to these gatherings. But over time, Clooney began to notice something disturbing. There was more going on behind the scenes than anyone could have imagined. These weren't just parties, these were gatherings of power, gatherings where deals were made, where power was traded, and where silence was the most important rule of all. It wasn't long before Diddy revealed his true ambitions. Clooney was at a party in the Hamptons, enjoying a drink when Diddy approached him. "Rap won't change the world," Diddy said, his voice confident. "True power lies in places like the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, and organizations like the Gates Foundation. George, you're my ticket to that world." Clooney, always the perceptive observer, recognized the implications of Diddy's words. Diddy wasn't just interested in building a music empire, he wanted access to a much higher level of influence. Clooney knew what Diddy was asking of him. Diddy wanted to use Clooney as a bridge to the political world, to gain access to global decision-making. Clooney realized that Diddy wasn't interested in just fame and fortune. He wanted to be a player in the world of politics, to pull the strings from behind the scenes. And Clooney was the key to that world. Clooney, however, wasn't easily fooled. He knew what Diddy was after. Clooney had spent years in Hollywood, navigating the politics of the industry, and he recognized when someone was trying to manipulate their way into power. But Clooney also knew that Diddy's ambitions weren't just about politics. Diddy was building something much larger, a system of control, a network of powerful individuals bound together by unspoken rules of silence and fear. And Clooney, like everyone else, was caught in the web. For a full year, Clooney attended Diddy's gatherings, keeping a close eye on everything happening around him. He mingled with Hollywood stars, billionaires, and politicians, all the while keeping track of the subtle power dynamics at play. Diddy, Clooney realized, wasn't just building a business empire, he was building a network of influence, a machine designed to manipulate and control anyone who became a part of it. Clooney knew he couldn't sit back and watch this unfold without doing something. But what could he do? He had to be careful. He had to gather evidence, to document the network of power that Diddy had created. In 2013, Clooney received a mysterious envelope. Inside were nothing but GPS coordinates and a timestamp, 2 a.m. The instructions were simple. Follow the coordinates, wear black, and leave your phone behind. Clooney didn't know what to make of it at first. It could have been a prank, but something inside him told him that this was important. Clooney, always the curious observer, decided to follow the instructions. What he found that night would change the course of his life forever. A black SUV picked Clooney up, and he was driven through narrow streets to a location he had never seen before, an abandoned amusement park. As Clooney made his way into the facility, he was led into an underground chamber. The space was cold and sterile, guarded by silent men who didn't even look at his ID. Clooney couldn't shake the feeling that he had just entered something far bigger than he had ever imagined. What Clooney witnessed in that underground chamber would be forever etched in his memory. The room was filled with powerful people, billionaires, celebrities, politicians, all dressed in robes and masks. Clooney soon realized that this wasn't a party. This was a ritual, a twisted ceremony designed to bind these powerful individuals together in silence and control. Clooney knew he had to gather evidence, but the risks were enormous. He couldn't just leave without documenting what was happening. So he did what he had to do. He used a hidden camera to record everything he could, snapping pictures of the guest book, memorizing the names of those attending, and capturing footage of the disturbing scenes unfolding in front of him. Clooney knew the risks. He knew that if Diddy or anyone else found out what he was doing, his life, his career, and his family's safety would be in jeopardy. But he couldn't stay silent any longer. The world needed to know what was happening behind the closed doors of Diddy's empire. He had to expose the truth. Over the following months, Clooney continued to gather evidence. He collected text messages, audio recordings, and even more videos that revealed the true nature of Diddy's operations. The footage Clooney had captured was chilling. It showed how powerful individuals used their influence to exploit the vulnerable, people Clooney referred to as nuggets. These individuals were used as pawns in a twisted game of power, manipulated and humiliated by the wealthy and powerful figures in Diddy's world. Clooney knew that he couldn't just walk away from this. He had to make sure that the world knew what Diddy and his associates were doing. When the trial began, Clooney submitted everything he had: photos, videos, documents, and recordings. He laid bare the network of power that Diddy had created, exposing the names of the powerful individuals who had attended these gatherings. Some of those names were people Clooney had once respected: politicians, celebrities, business moguls. Now they were all exposed for their participation in a web of corruption and manipulation. The courtroom was stunned as the evidence was presented. Clooney's voice shook as he recounted the events, but he remained firm. This wasn't about him. This was about the truth. Diddy's empire, built on fear, secrecy, and manipulation, was coming to an end. But Diddy's defense team didn't take this lying down. They immediately went on the attack. They questioned Clooney's credibility, asking why he hadn't come forward sooner. Clooney's response was simple: fear. He had seen what happened to others who tried to speak out. He had seen careers destroyed, families threatened, and lives ruined. But now the truth was out, and there was no going back. As Clooney continued to speak, Diddy remained seated at the defendant's table, his face a mask of defiance. He denied everything, claiming that Clooney was lying. But Clooney didn't back down. He knew the truth. He had the evidence, and now the world was about to see it. The videos Clooney had recorded were played in court, and the room went silent. The jurors, unable to comprehend the horror they were witnessing, bowed their heads in disbelief.
But Clooney remained resolute. He had risked everything to bring this truth to light, and now there was no turning back. As the case progressed, the names of the powerful individuals involved in Diddy's empire were revealed: politicians, executives, celebrities, people who had once been untouchable. Clooney had exposed them all. Diddy's empire was crumbling, but Clooney knew that the battle wasn't over. He had exposed the truth, but the fight for justice was just beginning. The system of power and control that Diddy had built couldn't be taken down in a single trial. But Clooney had taken the first step. He had exposed the darkness, and now the world would have to reckon with the consequences. George Clooney's testimony wasn't just about taking down one powerful man. It was a detonation at the heart of a hidden system, a global network fueled by secrecy, manipulation, and the absolute corruption of power. He risked everything: the career he built, the safety of those he loves, his own future, to shine a light into a darkness few dared acknowledge. This isn't just a courtroom drama. It's a stark reminder of the unseen forces shaping our world, operating in the shadows of wealth and influence. The names revealed, the rituals exposed, they're just the tip of an iceberg built on fear and exploitation. The fight for true justice doesn't end with a verdict. It begins with the courage to look, to question, and to demand accountability from the powerful. This story is unfolding. The fallout will be seismic. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. The truth is the most powerful weapon we have. Subscribe now. Hit notification bell. We will be following every development, uncovering the layers because the world needs to know. Thank you for watching. George Clooney's testimony wasn't just about one man. It was about exposing a system built on secrecy, manipulation, and power. Clooney risked everything: his career, his family, and his safety, to bring this truth to light, and now the world knows. But this isn't over. The battle for justice continues. Stay tuned as we follow the developments of this case and bring you more stories that uncover the truth. If you believe in the power of truth, subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support is crucial as we continue to uncover the stories that need to be told.